What's up guys, Mike here, and today we're talking about the man Lonzo Ball yet again. Because honestly, Lonzo Ball is just special. I mean, already this season, he's become like a modern day rock star. So yeah, there's a lot of hype going on right now. Now, is that hype justified? Well, as you may have guessed at this point, that is the topic of today's video. Should Lonzo Ball be a top pick? Should he be the #1 pick? And right before we get started, I just want to say, reminder, I'm doing a giveaway on my Instagram that will end in 2 days. I'm giving away throwback jerseys like this one, but you could choose whatever you want. I'll buy it for you. All you have to do is go to @Korzemba, follow me, and then the first post there will be the giveaway. You just have to like and comment on that. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about Lonzo Ball. Let's get this out of the way right now. Lonzo Ball is different than every draft prospect we've ever seen. We've never seen a 6'6" point guard with this kind of basketball IQ, this kind of floor vision, this kind of athleticism, this kind of efficiency, and this kind of jump shot. Everything about Lonzo is unnatural, and it's hard to judge a player when you can't directly compare him to a modern NBA player. Because being different scares scouts, it always has. At one point in time, scouts were afraid to take Kevin Garnett because high school players needed college experience before going to the NBA. KG would go on to become a 15-time All-Star, NBA MVP, and NBA champion. These same scouts were afraid to take Dirk Nowitzki because foreign big men were seen as soft and hadn't really found a lot of success in the league. Now, well, good luck telling Dirk Nowitzki to his face that he's soft. He might just hit you. And if he didn't, well, he probably would just laugh behind his own 13 All-Star game appearances, MVP trophy, and championship ring. And most recently, scouts ranked Steph Curry behind several members of his draft class because he played the game differently. Steph wasn't tall, he wasn't fast, he didn't have a 40-inch vertical leap. It didn't matter that his teams won games, it didn't matter that he had tremendous individual success because there was no real NBA comparison for him, which meant scouts decided to make safe picks such as drafting Johnny Flynn, a more prototypical NBA point guard. So I think we can agree, in the eyes of scouts, different is bad. So this year, scouts are nervous about Lonzo Ball because his game is somewhat abnormal. His jump shot is weird, he's not that explosive off the dribble, he's very skinny, he's whatever. To me, these few weaknesses are more than made up by the tremendous strengths that Lonzo possesses. And as the season has gone on, most people have actually began to agree with that statement. In fact, at this point, most people also seem to agree that Lonzo has the floor of a good NBA player and the ceiling of a legitimate NBA superstar, which is great, but the question still does remain. Should Lonzo Ball be the top pick in this year's NBA draft? Because even though scouts have admitted that Lonzo Ball has tremendous potential, they've also consistently put Markelle Fultz ahead of Lonzo. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say, I think Markelle Fultz is awesome. I think he has star potential too. With that said, one of the biggest points made in the case for Markelle is that he's put up absolutely monster stats this season. And looking at those numbers, I have to agree that Markelle has had a better season statistically than Lonzo. But it's not by the huge margin that some people want you to believe. Lonzo's finished the season with more assists, rebounds, and steals than Markelle, and he's also shot almost 70% better from the field. Yes, you can say Markelle's assists and shooting percentages are down because Washington is just that bad. But you could also say that Lonzo's stats across the board are down because he gets less opportunities than Markelle because UCLA is a much better team. So for the stats, again, slight edge for Markelle, but they're not that big of a deal for me. They're not as big a deal as the most important stat in all of basketball, wins. And in that category, well, it's not even close. And before we get into the argument for Markelle here that Lonzo has a much better team, let's first hear the thoughts of a man who has recently been crucified by the national media. I'm talking, of course, about Lonzo's dad, LeVar, who, when asked about Lonzo's potential as a #1 draft pick, said this: "He's the only player in the draft that can make everyone around him better." As you can see that with UCLA. Why shouldn't he be #1? He's earned it. Nobody else is playing like him. Nobody else is doing what he's doing. He's selling out arenas. He's making all his players better. Why wouldn't he be #1? How do you start your franchise without that guy? And as for that first point, well, I gotta say, Lonzo's dad is right on the money. Because at his core, Lonzo Ball is a winner. All you really need to know is that last year the Bruins were were 15 and 17. They had the 101st offensive efficiency in the NCAA, and Steve Alford was legitimately afraid for his job. This season, with almost the entire same roster, UCLA is currently 29 and 4. They have the #1 offensive efficiency in the entire nation, and Steve Alford is feeling very comfortable. So yeah, this season Lonzo has a better team than Markelle. There's no denying that, especially when you factor in the addition of TJ Leaf. But just remember, before Lonzo Ball got to UCLA, they were just as bad as the Washington Huskies are now. I'm emphasizing this as much as possible because you need to know the presence of Lonzo Ball absolutely transforms a team's entire culture. In just 1 year, Lonzo made a below average basketball team into that of a championship contender with the #1 offense in all of college basketball. This has surprised a lot of people, but it's been absolutely no surprise to Lonzo or his dad, because throughout Lonzo's high school career, LeVar was constantly filling out pickup games and summer league tournament rosters with bad players to play with Lonzo. His message was, everybody wins with good players, but if you win with these guys, you'll win with anybody. And that about sums up everything you really need to know about Lonzo Ball. He spent his entire basketball life turning losing teams into winners, and at every stage, no matter what challenge has been thrown at him, he's found success. And the reason he's able to lead his team to wins is also the reason he's established himself as such an elite prospect. When it comes down to it, no other top prospect, not even Markelle Fultz, can match Lonzo Ball's intangibles and clutch gene. When you watch Lonzo play, you can tell that he was born to become a basketball star. He sees plays develop seconds before the average player. He anticipates opponents' moves on defense before they themselves know what they're going to do. Plus, he's the most unselfish top draft prospect I've ever seen. He always makes the right pass to his teammates. He always keeps everyone on the court involved in the offense. He's the definition of a floor general. So it's no surprise that these unique skills have kept Lonzo in the conversation of top draft prospects for the last few years. And now that we're at the NCAA tournament, March Madness, the one time of the year where all eyes will be on college basketball players, well, the ability to win games might just win Lonzo the top pick in this year's NBA draft. Because the thing is, no matter what scouts and GMs want to tell you, a player's performance in the NCAA tournament actually matters a lot. We've seen guys like Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward make huge runs in March Madness and then go on to drastically improve their draft stock. But even if Lonzo doesn't win any games this tournament, even if he sat out the entire tournament, I'd still pick him with the #1 pick in the draft. I'd still take the guy who has a genius basketball IQ. And right now, Markelle is going to be on the couch at home watching Lonzo Ball play in the NCAA tournament. That could be huge for Lonzo's draft stock. Just how huge, well, that remains to be seen. The Bruins have an incredibly tough road to fight through in this year's tournament. If they reach the Sweet 16, they might have to play a loaded Kentucky Wildcats team. If they beat Kentucky, well, then they'll probably have to face off against a just as loaded veteran North Carolina team. The road to the Final Four is not going to be easy, but as we've already learned, Lonzo wouldn't want it any other way. He spent his whole life defying the odds, playing with less talented teams and finding ways to win anyway. Now, with all eyes on him, it's really put up or shut up. If Lonzo can put up some monster performances, some games that turn heads and showcase the all-around dominance we've seen flashes of this season, well, that's going to leave a very lasting image in the minds of NBA scouts everywhere. Because we've seen how these guys' careers usually end up. They're the Larry Birds, the Magic Johnsons, the Tim Duncans, the LeBron James. Players with elite basketball IQs not only lead their team to wins, they also are able to play a long time in the NBA because they're able to adjust their games when their athleticism begins to fade. So when you combine Lonzo's incredible basketball smarts with his physical gifts, I mean, come on, the guy is a 6'6" point guard who's fast and has a near 40-inch vertical. Well, when you combine these two things, you get almost the perfect formula for the perfect NBA draft prospect. The only thing really missing in that combination is work ethic. But don't worry, because Lonzo checks off that box too. This work ethic has been instilled in Lonzo since he was just a little kid. Because from as early as he can remember, practicing basketball hasn't been work for him. Instead, it's been fun. Because he's not really practicing the sport of basketball, he's it's more working at his passion. He has the drive to become one of the best players in the NBA, and he's had that drive for as long as anyone can remember. When he was just 5 years old, he was already doing dips and pull-ups to get stronger. By the age of 12, he could be found running up and down a mile-long hill in his hometown to improve his stamina. And from the moment he was old enough to shoot a basketball, he has spent countless hours a day working on his ball handling and shooting. As his dad puts it, a lot of people be like, you push him to the limit. No, I got him to the limit. If I have to push you, then this ain't for you. Lonzo doesn't need to be pushed to practice his craft. In fact, he wouldn't feel right if he wasn't working as hard as he could to get better every day. So when it all comes down to it, I'm sure scouts are going to spend the next few months arguing about Lonzo's jump shot, his strength, his lack of a mid-range game. They're going to spend a lot of time worrying about things that in the end, I don't think will matter at all. Because sure, Lonzo Ball does have some flaws in his game right now. What 19-year-old basketball player doesn't? But if any of those flaws turn out to be a real problem, well, I think Lonzo will be able to figure out a way to get rid of them. He has the work ethic and the basketball IQ to dramatically improve his game, and as for now, like I said, the man has just proven himself as a winner at every level he's ever played at, which is the #1 reason I would pick Lonzo with the first pick in the draft. When it comes down to it, the only real goal in basketball is to win, and Lonzo Ball has proven that he wins games time and time again. For me, that's enough. Also, the fact that he's a 6'6" freak of a point guard doesn't really hurt either. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Even if you don't agree with me, I still hope you enjoyed it. I hope you subscribe if you're new. I make basketball content like this. I do NBA what ifs. I do NBA conspiracies. I just do a whole lot here. Would love to have you. And if you want to see more of Lonzo Ball, well, I have the perfect video for you on the second channel. Second channel for some reason is over there. But yeah, I've been doing what if Lonzo Ball was drafted to the New York Knicks. Basically, it's changed everything. The Knicks have become complete title contenders. It's been pretty awesome. I'll leave the link to that video down below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for your support. It means everything. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.